So this is a fascinating story, and it's one where I couldn't really believe my eyes when I first read it. But according to the Jewish News Syndicate, Mahmoud Abbas has Jewish ancestry, and the Palestinian Authority leader's anti-Semitism may be his attempt to prove his loyalty to the Palestinian cause. I want to read to you what Harold Rode wrote, because this is interesting. There has been talk for a while now about some Palestinians, people that call themselves Palestinians, Arabs in Judea and Samaria or Gaza, some of them actually having Jewish ancestry. Now, this article is written by Harold Rode, who is a PhD in Islamic history and later served as the Turkish desk officer at the US Department of Defense, and is a senior fellow at the Gatestone Institute. And here's what he said just a few months ago. It would no doubt come as a surprise to many to know that Palestinian Authority leader Mahmoud Abbas, aka Abu Mazen, has Jewish ancestry. Abu Mazen was born in Sfat, a city in northern Israel that after the expulsion from Spain in 1492 became a major centre of the Kabbalah. His father was a descendant of one of the rabbinic families that settled in Sfat. How did Abu Mazen's family become Muslim? On January 1st, 1837, a major earthquake struck Sfat, causing many of its residents to flee, though some stayed. The Muslims forced the Jews who stayed to convert to Islam. The ancestors of Abu Mazen's father were among those who, despite a rabbinic legacy, converted. How do we know this? Due to the nature of Arab society, the parents of young children inculcate them with the history of their own family, clan, and tribal relationships, as well as those of their neighbours. Muslims from Sfat were therefore well aware of the fact that Abu Mazen's ancestors were originally Jews, and they passed this knowledge on to their descendants. In private, these Muslims are sometimes prepared to divulge this. That is how we know about Abu Mazen's Jewish origins. But the same Muslims refuse to say this publicly because doing so would endanger their lives. Many Palestinian Muslims and Christians are in fact of Jewish origin. I've heard from a significant number of young Palestinians that they know they have Jewish ancestry. However, they will not dare to say so publicly because they fear being labelled as traitors to the Palestinian cause. In their culture, that treachery would be punishable by death. Abu Mazen was a protege of Yasser Arafat. As is usual among Arab leaders, Arafat encouraged division and discord between his deputies to ensure that none would attempt to overthrow him. Arafat encouraged rivalry and enmity so his subordinates would focus their anger on each other, not on him. As a result, Arafat's subordinates were always on the lookout for acts of treachery by their colleagues, which they would report to Arafat. Abu Mazen joined Arafat when the latter was expelled from Beirut to Tunis in August 1982. Stories of Arafat and his cohort's time in Tunis include the claim that someone once put a sign on the door of Abu Mazen's office that read Wikalat al-Yahud, the Jewish Agency, in Arabic. Clearly, the man who put up the sign wanted to shame Abu Mazen, implying that he was a spy for Israel and thus gain brownie points with Arafat. I've been told that when Arafat wanted to remind Abu Mazen who was boss, Arafat would yell, Anta Yahudi, you are a Jew. This became common knowledge to others in Arafat's entourage. Does Abu Mazen's Jewish ancestry explain his deep animosity towards Jews in Israel? Muslim Palestinians of Jewish origin usually know that others with whom they associate are aware of their origins. These ex-Jews often overcompensate in order to prove their loyalty. They sometimes do so by joining Muslim terrorist organizations such as Hamas, the PLO, and so on. For example, the Palestinian Muslim terrorists who murdered Jews in the Sarona Mall in Tel Aviv in 2016 were Mohammed and Khalid Mukamara. They belonged to the Mukamara clan in Yatta, a village near Hebron in Judea. It is known among the villagers around Hebron that the people of Yatta were originally Jewish. Moreover, the meaning of the clan's name, Mukamara, comes from the Arabic root KHMR, which means wine. Thus, the clan name means either winemakers or people having some connection to wine. As is well known, having anything to do with wine is a major sin to Muslims. In that context, today's Mukamara clan members, as good Muslims, almost assuredly would have nothing to do with wine. But their Jewish ancestors clearly did, hence the name of their clan. Even more interestingly, it is common knowledge among the locals in the Hebron area that after the 67 Six-Day War, when Israel took control over Judea and Samaria, heads the above-mentioned clan and other clans in the area, even some living in the city of Hebron itself, went to the then Israeli Defense Minister Moshe Dayan, who was in charge of the newly acquired territories, and asked him to help them return to Judaism. Dayan rebuffed them. Why did they approach Dayan in the first place? In the Middle East, people go with the strong horse. Israel had just soundly defeated the Arab Muslim armies of Jordan, Egypt, and Syria, and was the new strongman. Dayan's refusal to help them meant that these clans no longer enjoyed any external protection. So, many local Muslim descendants of Jews chose the next best option, going overboard to prove their loyalty to the Muslim cause by committing terrorist acts against Jews. This phenomenon is common among others as well. For example, local Christians who chose to identify with the Arab or Palestinian cause tended to join or form what State Department Middle Eastern specialists tended to call extremist organizations. These included the Democratic Front for the Liberation of Palestine, headed by the Greek Orthodox Christian George Abbas. A later offshoot, the Popular Democratic Front for the Liberation of Palestine, was headed by Nayef Hawatama, a Greek Catholic Christian. Abi Mazen has done the same. For example, his PhD thesis, written at Moscow's Institute of Oriental Studies in 1982, is saturated with anti-Semitism, including Holocaust denial. It is entirely possible that in choosing this topic and making such historically absurd claims, Abi Mazen was just trying to prove his loyalty to the Muslim Palestinian cause and deny his Jewish origins. Fascinating. I'd love to know what you have to think about this in the comments, but I think one point that he makes that above all else that I think is so important, that Harold Rhodes says, that when he tries to psychoanalyze what's going on here with people who may have Jewish origins but want to prove that they aren't, that's not true, or who they really are loyal to. The thing he said in the middle of the article, that ultimately in the Middle East, people just go with the strong man. Whoever is strong, whoever shows dominance, that's who they try and cozy up to, that's who they try and gain the respect of. And I think there's a really important lesson there. There's a really big lesson in that, which is that when Israel's fighting her wars, the questions that the Middle Eastern countries and our Arab neighbours are asking is less who is in the right, who is wrong and who is right, and who has the justified case. And a huge part of it is just who is strong, who chooses strength. And Israel has in the past chosen compromise, chosen the path of trying to just shrink and thinking in doing so that will create peace. They don't respect that. It's only uncompromising strength that they actually have respect for, that I think this author is trying to argue is what will actually turn around a lot of opinions and minds. When Israel shows uncompromising strength, look at how the Arab world reacted to Nasrallah being eliminated by Israel. There were memes celebrating, glorifying Netanyahu in the Arab world. It was in Arabic. I was sent this video that I showed you of, and it was an Arabic video where they made a song celebrating Netanyahu, and I was told it was going viral in the Arab world. That's something they really respect. People that show strength and dominance. And so Israel should show uncompromising strength in dealing with her enemies, eliminating security threats. Now, the other thing, of course, they respect as well is people that invoke the name of God, which I think is very much tied to the first part, because that takes a certain level of confidence and courage. And so I think that's also something that we as a Jewish people, it's one thing for the military and the government to show uncompromising strength, and we certainly can do as advocates, but also explaining why it is that we're here, explaining what it is that ultimately we as a people, what our destiny is, why we have the right to be here. And that is ultimately about invoking the name of God in what we do. We are the people whose land was given to us by God himself. That is the justification. That is what they will respect in the Middle East. And that is what we should start saying. If you've made it so far in this video, I have a request for you. JTV has been having a really big impact in spreading the truth about Israel and creating positive associations with the Jewish people, Judaism, and Israel. We've really grown a lot, particularly in the last year, and we're having a really significant impact, both for Jews and non-Jews. But I really want to take JTV to the next level so we can start to compete with the other big online media beasts that are often peddling anti-Israel content. And the way we're going to do that is to scale even faster. So I'd love to build a team where we have other presenters doing shows like me. Let's start doing documentaries, supplementary content, animated content, etc., etc. And to do that, I'd like to build a bit of a team. So what we're going to do is we're going to do one fundraising day, just one, where we try and build up some funding in order to fund such a team. Now, to do that, it's going to obviously require people to get involved. And I'm wondering if you would consider, if you're watching JTV content and appreciate what we do and want to help partner with us in taking this to the next level and spreading the truth farther and wider than ever before, I wonder if you'd consider partnering with us simply by running a mini page on the fundraiser that we do, where you just reach out to your contacts on that day that we choose to fundraise and see if they'll all chip in. If you'd be up for doing that, of which I would be so grateful, then please click on the Google form link in the video description of this video, where you can simply just put in a few contact details. It'll be a very small commitment, as I say, literally just one day that we'll all agree upon as a collective community. But the impact is going to be so big. There's such strength in numbers. If we all pull together and do this, we can take this to the next level. And as I say, all of us can partner together in bringing and spreading the truth to the whole world. So please do consider clicking on that link, filling in the form, and I'll be in touch very soon to talk about the next steps. Small commitment, but a big impact. Hi, thank you so much for watching. To watch another one, click here. To stay up to date with all our content, click here to subscribe. And if you're able to, you can help support JTV to grow and grow by clicking join below this video, where you can become a member and get perks including early access to videos and private live discussions with me. But most of all, you'll be partnering with us on our mission to change the world.